Hi guys, Bill the Appraiser here with a new episode of All About Appraisals. I've kind of been putting this off a little bit, so I hope I'm not really late to the party. I don't think I am, but for those of you that don't know, the appraisal, as you have known it for the last few years, few being 15, give or take, is about to change in a big way. And just to give a little bit of perspective and set the scene, 15 years ago, give or take, we changed the way appraisals were done to something called UAD, Uniform Appraisal Data Set 2.6. And that's kind of that's when we went to the Q's and C's. You know, the Q for quality of construction and C for condition. And you had that scale of 1 to 6 for both quality construction and condition. And so now we're going to UAD 3.6. And so I won't say the appraisal that as you know it is going away, because it's not really, because it's still going to be out there for various reasons. I'll talk about that in a minute. This is kind of the full length video that I'm going to do on this, and after this I'll probably record a quick short I can use as a vertical video to promote this. But as a general rule in the appraisal world, it's all about what Fannie and Freddie want. And so the new UAD 3.6, the new appraisal, is really going to be geared toward transactions through lenders that are going to be sold in the secondary market to Fannie and Freddie. Now, there's lots of things out there that don't get sold, and so those may or may not end up being done in the new format. And then, of course, anything that's non-lender, where it's not for a federally regulated transaction, that people simply need an estimate of value for divorce or for probate or for whatever reason, just because they want to know what their home's worth, then those may not necessarily need to be on this new in this new report. Now, the reason I make that distinction is because historically we've always referred to these things as forms, which is really where this comes from. That, in the past up to now, there's always been a form for SFR, single family residential, and then there was one for condos and one for land and one for multiplex and that kind of thing. So you had all these different forms, and now all that kind of goes away. And so what we as appraisers have been instructed to refer to the new Brave New World as is a dynamic report. And so, the appraiser goes into this dynamic report and they pick, what it is they're going to be appraising. And it may be any of the things that I just mentioned. Could be single family res, could be land, could be mobile, could be condo, could be multiplex, could be any of those things. And so because of that, the way the new report is set up, as the appraiser goes through and picks one thing, then that dictates what comes after that. And so, now for in the real world, is it going to mean that much to end users? Maybe not. And I think one of the reasons I held off on doing a video on this is because I don't really know that much about it just yet, in that, my appraisal software, which I won't name, is not quite ready yet, but some are and some aren't. And so, that's going to be my my task here in the next few weeks, the next couple of months, is getting ready for this Brave New World, because once Fannie and Freddie, announce the due date, which I think is around early September, that there's kind of a month lag time where Fannie and Freddie say, okay, after this date, we're only going to accept the new report. And so at that point, then everything kind of comes to a screeching halt. So as far as appearance goes, I think this may help end users, in that I think most all reports will look more or less the same at this point. Not a whole lot of wiggle room, not a whole lot of room for creativity on the appraiser side. And so regardless of the software and things like that, I think it's going to look more or less the same, which could be good, maybe even better for end users, in that they don't have to worry about, well, how does John do it? How does Jack do it? How does Susie do it? How does Betty do it? How does that kind of thing? And I think the way it's laid out dictates that there's not a whole lot of room for creativity. So I think the reports will by and large be a little bit more similar, more symmetry than there was before. I could be wrong, but I think that's the case. And so it's going to be interesting to see just how it all lays out. A couple of things that I've heard, it's strange things that, you wonder, why do they need this information? One thing I saw was that historically, in the average appraisal report that you're used to, the appraiser captured about 500 data points for the subject property. And now, as I understand it, in the Brave New World, the appraiser will be capturing about 1,500 data points for the subject property. So, right away, that tells you a couple of things. The appraisal inspection, site visit, as we call it, is probably going to take longer, maybe considerably longer. And I'm not one to say for sure, but indications are you would expect if it takes longer to do the inspection, it's likely going to take longer to get the report done and consequently probably cost more to have the report done. Most softwares are talking about increasing fees, and so that's one of the reasons. And two, I don't know about other states, but I know in my state, we just renewed licenses. We renew licenses in my state every other year in even years, and it goes for 2 years. So usually in most renewal years, you have a few people that drop out for whatever reason. So I expect there's going to be a pretty significant drop in our state and maybe all over the country for this go around because of this UAD 3.6, this Brave New World form report that we're talking about. And so, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see it take longer to get an appraisal done. The process itself would take longer. I expect there's a good chance that fees may increase. That's just what I'm seeing based on the feedback I'm seeing on some of the appraiser Facebook pages. I'm not advocating that. I'm just telling you what I hear. And so, who knows what it's going to turn into. And there's all sorts of crazy information that, appraisal groups are getting some of the local MLSs involved as well, because there's so much more information that's being required now that is not currently being captured by the most of the local MLSs. And so appraisal groups are going to the MLSs saying, hey, now we need you guys to provide us this, and this for all the comparable sales, which historically had not been provided. Case in point, one crazy thing, and you wonder why in the world, apparently now appraisers are, among other things, and there's many things appraisers are going to have to supply now they did not before, but the distance from the bottom of the front door of the home to the dirt. And now I don't think that is an absolute number, but I think there's a drop down the appraiser picks from, and it's from 6 to 8 feet, 7 to 9, whatever, and so they pick. But it's just that kind of crazy thing. So if you're not aware of this, just be aware now and be on the lookout, because this is coming. And there are some people out there that still think that, well, maybe Fannie and Freddie are going to put this off for another month or two. They swear they are not going to do that. They swear they are digging in at this point, and that it is a go for the drop dead date being, I think it's around September 2nd. That as of that date, they will no longer accept the old form UAD 2.6 report. And so it's almost like this kind of a dead zone in the month of September. So I'm not really sure what that's about. I need to do a little more digging on that. And then as of, I think October 1st, they would only accept the new UAD 3.6. So there's something on the horizon there. So if you're not familiar with it, you might want to reach out to your local appraisers or other powers that be and kind of find out. Personally, I know that I'm going to be doing a couple of dog and ponies for some local groups and talking to real estate agents and brokers and explaining as best I know, how the Brave New World is going to work. I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic. I think it'll be a good thing when it's all said and done. By and large, let's face it, as humans, we don't really like change. And so when change comes along, if there's a way to get away from it, we try to. I don't think there's a way to get away from it in this go around. And so the best thing to do is just, sort of hunker down, learn it and then move forward. And then I think, once we get the learning curve behind us, we'll probably be happy and glad that we did. And maybe it is better. I don't know. The appraisal as we know it today, again, has been there for quite a while. And again, it's going to continue to be there for these other reasons I mentioned. For any reason that appraisal will be done when it's not for a federally regulated transaction, anytime it's just for an estimate of value for a private individual, when it's for probate, if it's for divorce, anything that's private, and there are also some lender things that there are lenders out there that do not lend, that do not sell their loans on the secondary market. And so those guys may not change at all. And so it's possible that the form, so to speak, the report that you're used to that's been out there for years and years will continue to be out there for a number of years, but it may not be available for the federally regulated transactions that you're working on if you are a real estate agent and that kind of thing. So hope this is somewhat informative. If nothing else, at least it enlightens you to the fact that this is around the corner, and I do really mean around the corner at this point. So by all means, please, drop any comments you've got. I may not have all the answers, but if I don't have the answer, I'll try to find it. I'm sure this is just the first of several videos on this topic. Like I said, after I finish this off, I'm going to record a short and get this out there as a vertical video on the shorts. And again, thanks for watching. Tune in and hit the like and subscribe button, and we will see you on the next video. Thanks so much. See you next time. Thanks.